All right, we are back. I hope that saves. Let's see here. I hope that saves us the same. No, it probably won't be the same one. We might have to. I don't know, splice those together later or something. Let's
It's all
see.
good.
Yep, that's fine. Okay. Okay. Here's a new link. Put that in chat. Okay. All right. Okay. Back to season 5, week 1 power rankings. All right, so we went over the seniors and the spammers. Did you have anything more to say on the Mudcaps and Team Pussy?
Yeah, what I was gonna say about Team Pussy and the Mudkips particularly was that this was a match that was kind of contrary to what we saw a lot from Team Pussy last season, where instead of Team Pussy constantly getting everything that they wanted set up and then still losing, they kind of let the Mudkips do whatever they wanted and then just beat them in their own game. So we saw it. It's so crazy. Like they set up the trick room, then Ice Horse comes out and it's like, oh well, you have Ice Horse in Trick Room. Like, here we go, time to get started. Now we're going, and they just one shot it,
Yeah.
boom, and just really, really good prep by Team Pussy in general. I think it was just good play. I think teams in general are sleeping on them. Obviously, the Mudkips are a good team. Would never say that they're not. But I think that they definitely shouldn't feel bad. I think Team Pussy is going to be an elite team if they continue on this pace. Obviously, if they won a game, but this is a good start for them, and I expect big things out of them, especially with the draft like they got. A lot of comfort picks, a lot of really good solid things like the Celesteela and the Cinderace. So hopefully this starts for things to come for them.
I think so. I mean, we saw the unfortunate season that Doesn't Click had in season 3. We saw them bounce back pretty well this past season, so I think we're probably going to see
Yeah.
the same from Team Pussy. It's yeah. This is more like what they're actually like as players. So next one is the Wailords and the Jurors. You want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we saw right here just really good play from honestly both ends. I believe the jurors came out with like a Scarfini and a Raichu lead, and what did the Wailords come out with? I believe it was like
Incineroar and Volibee.
Incineroar and Volibee. I was gonna say I wanted to call it Mandibuzz, but I knew it wasn't Mandibuzz.
Yeah.
And they honestly did pretty good with that very passive lead. They kind of just let the Volibee go down and brought in some of their other things. But what really kind of changed everything was, I think, the Trick Room being set up, the Dragalge not being able to switch in safely to kind of Dynamax,
Yeah.
and then the Araquanid coming in and kind of mitigating some of that damage that they were going to be able to do. The Max Darkness was a great tech because
Oh, yeah.
otherwise Jellicent was just going to roll them. And
Oh, this game but not uploaded yet. We will probably have that sometime tonight or tomorrow.
yes, yes, it's just been it was super busy.
Yeah.
But the Jellicent was just gonna roll him in Trick Room. The Tangrowth Dynamax and was launching off Max Oozes, getting everything and kind of boosted up, and Araquanid was throwing out Skitter Smacks to kind of try to mitigate the out from them. Just overall, really really good play. Just in general, I think came down to just I think it was a timer, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Wailords had a one Pokemon lead. It was pretty even there at the end. They had a one Pokemon lead for a couple of turns, and they were able to make some even trades. But the jurors just didn't have what it took to really overtake them there.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty even game. I think maybe the biggest downfall was not being able to get what they wanted out of the Dragalge.
Yeah.
Because
They
they
could have done damage.
right, they still got a really big KO. there were a couple of things in misty terrain that were not touching the ground, so they were still able to get good dragon hits off on the Volibear.
The
for
Flygon
one,
had Levitate, and the Volibear was a flying type,
right?
So you could still max Wormwind them,
right? And I mean, you could still max Wormwind other stuff too. It's still going to be a lot of damage even in terrain if you have that weakness policy boost. But yeah, what ended up happening for nobody else has seen it was that the Dragalge was weakness policy. It ended up switching in on a Flygon, a Life Orb Flygon Earthquake, like 4 HP, I think, and it was able to take 1 KO, but that was it. It was a pretty strong Dynamax candidate, as all weakness policy Pokemon are. But it once it got down to 4 HP, that was no longer an option. Yeah. But I think the Max Tangrowth was also a really cool adaptation. And the Skitter Smack from that Araquanid was a really cool tech. But yeah, the Araquanid, they just couldn't break through it, mostly because they didn't have their Dragalge anymore. Not that Dragalge was really going to be able to one-shot it, but if it had its boosts and with the adaptability, I'm sure it's a 2-shot even on Dynamax Araquanid. Yeah. But the main thing is that the Araquanid just didn't really have much to actually hit the Dragalge. It resists both its stabs, and then it's got a big special defense stat. So even that Max Darkness wasn't going to be doing much to it if it was. So I don't know. Hope they learned their lesson.
Yeah, because then not to go too much on a tangent, because we did the same thing, but then the optimal play is to lead the Chansey right from the get-go. And
if you're going to use it,
if you're going to use it, and to immediately start timer stalling, but then you're at a disadvantage, because typically to get those set up, you lose one. So if your opponent goes, all right, cool, we just took a 1 Pokemon lead, let's just shut it down. Let's play defensively, let's just shut it down, and we'll go to time easy.
Yeah, especially in multi-battles, when you can just burn down one side, it's like you can kind of just you can leave the Chansey alone, kill the other side while you're timer stalling, and then you can probably, you either force them to switch out and lose all of their momentum, or the Chansey has to 2v1, which is not going to be good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, so moving on to the Dark Web Porygons versus the Mats. This was a pretty cool match, especially toward the end there. We saw the Dynamax Regidrago with over 1,000 HP. So, yeah, let's see. So, how did this game start? Oh, the Dynamax Zap.
I think it's at +1 Spadaf. It can start launching max Airstreams, and then the Scarf really doesn't matter so much anymore.
Oh, right, and then we saw that the Gardevoir actually outsped even after they got an Airstream boost.
Yep.
And we also saw that the Unburdened Hawlucha outsped the +3 Zapdos.
Yeah.
So that Zapdos apparently had no speed.
Yeah, I don't think it did. Most like I said, they went for the Psychic Seed, so I'm guessing they probably put a decent amount into HP.
Right.
Maybe made it like HP and attack, special attack, I should say. But yeah,
that is one of those things you have to account for in your building, even if you want to make it bulkier. Like if it's going to Dynamax and go for max Airstreams, or if you have a Tailwind setter that you want to pair with that bulky Dynamax Pokemon, you need to figure out what am I outspeeding with this many speed boosts? What am I outspeeding in Tailwind, etc. So that was probably a not so. Not really a great testament to their prep. So hopefully they learn from that.
Yeah, we just saw really good play from the Matter. Honestly, they held off their Dynamax for a long time. Were able to withstand the Zapdos for the most part. Still put down big, because I believe turn 1 the Garchomp actually switched out into Sylveon, and the Sylveon took 75% from helping hand expanding force. So it was one of those things where they were making the right calls by just going for the expanding forces, and then letting the Gardevoir go down. They're called Hawlucha, and then letting the Hawlucha come in to get the Unburden boost, set up Tailwind, and they just kept the pedal to the whole time. Then I feel like the only time they really had a chance, and when I say they, I mean the Dark Web Porygons, was when they had the fake out pressure on the field, and they faked out into the Dynamax slot.
Right.
and that really it just hurt a little bit because this is the kind of thing that you see from newer teams, that you just make little mistakes like that'll just lose it for you.
Right. Yeah. I actually I did watch just a clip of their video because I was curious as to right. Well, right. I mean, the Zapdos was as the Zapdos at +1 was still outsped by the Scarf Gardevoir, even though
Yes.
the +1 speed and the Scarf have the same. They apply the same speed boost, and Zapdos is naturally faster. So you'd expect the Zapdos to be faster after that Airstream.
It probably went
it
timid,
wasn't.
max speed, or something along those lines.
Right. I mean, clearly he was a fast Gardevoir and a not so fast Zapdos, and then
it came in at +3, and then they were able to get a faster Tailwind.
right.
So they were obviously able to get the Tailwind up, but because the Hawlucha outsped the Zapdos at +3 with the Unburden boost. So.
Right, which is maybe a little bit less surprising, but still,
I think it's 108 speed.
It's like 118.
Oh yeah,
I
118.
think.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I still I came in into the stream after a couple turns had passed already, and I don't think I would have been surprised if I had seen the Zapdos get outsped on turn 2 by the Gardevoir, but I was surprised to see that since you guys let me know that it was at +3, I was surprised to see the Hawlucha outspeed it there. So yeah, probably not a super fast Zapdos there, but let's see, where were we going with that before?
mainly that the Mats had a lot of control just in general with the game.
Oh, the fake out turn.
They had the fake out. That was probably one of the main turning points in the.
Right. So, yeah, I did go back to the Porygon's video. I just watched a little clip of it, just to see what their mindset was when they were going for that fake out. It sounded to me in the chat, but like after the game, that they had sort of made some kind of prediction that the Reggie wasn't going to max. But looking at their game, it was actually just a mistake on their part.
Happens.
Yeah, so that's what happened there. The player with the Pikachu, I think he thought Kartana had the max slot. So he ended up faking out the wrong slot. So and then of course the Reggie ends up maxing, and then they had a really nice end game with the Reggie and the Kartana. It wasn't. I don't think the win was guaranteed until maybe the last couple of turns or so. But
once they burned down the side, and I think it was only like 2 Pokemon, like the Politoed and something else.
Right, it was the Politoed and Scizor left. Once it was down to those two, it was pretty much over. So
it actually benefited the Mats to just keep going for protects. I mean, obviously you want to go...
on the Kartana, they just kept protecting because they wanted to.
So you have that combined with a very good team and 2 very good players. They're going to be a force.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to watch. The next match here is the Della Birds versus the Booloos. This game was like, it was a good game, but it was also a very weird game. I liked what the Booloos were going for, but the Della Birds just they just had such a goddamn game. It was super bulky, and it was just getting healed continuously by that Comfey. That combination was incredibly potent here, and it was really tough for the Booloos to break through. I think their only main mistake was not targeting down the Comfey immediately, which is kind of what you need to do, as long as you're also able to mitigate the damage from that Moltres. That's kind of how you handle that combination, because otherwise this is what happens. The Moltres just stays there and keeps getting healed. It took them a while. It took the Della Birds a while to actually get the ball rolling on Moltres. They were actually still Dynamaxed when the game went to time. So they they got a couple of, or I think one KO at the end, and then they brought Rillaboom down to Focus Sash. So it was a pretty slow paced game, mostly because of the Delibirds. They were controlling it quite a bit, and which is kind of it's a double edged sword, right? Because they were able to control the game and they won because of it, but it's also controlling it in the way that they did was a little bit. It's not a reliable way to win, especially because the game ended 4-4 and neither team had any idea who was going to take the win until the game told them who won. So not a consistent way to win, but at least I would say they were more in control than the Booloos were. But it's a it's a little bit weird of an end game there.
Yeah, especially because you still had Dynamax turns left on one side, a major a major mechanic to a game that could easily turn it around. Pick up a KO or two and kind of seal it away a little bit more. I wish I only watched it once, and I wish I would have went back and looked a little bit more at the Booloos, how they played, because I feel that they could have played a little bit. Say that right when it's that close, one or two moves, switching something out, switching something back in, kind of making sure that you're preserving the health of your Pokemon a little bit more. I think that this timer snuck up on them.
Oh, it definitely did.
That's what it felt like. Because if they would have known maybe 5 turns back, which is not a lot when you're taking the timer into account. 5 turns back, hey, the timer might be a decent win con here, or a win con for both teams might come into play.
Yeah.
Then it changes your whole strategy, So it's one of those things where, you wonder if a couple of turns could have changed it. This is why we don't think timer is a consistent strategy,
right?
Because you're not going to always get it going your way. But on the other hand, we got another one that went to time with us, the Burnouts and the Geezers. Did you want to finish on any thoughts on that?
Yeah, just a little one. Since you were talking about how the timer sort of snuck up on him, it actually I watched both sides of this one, and I know that I was talking to the Booloos afterward, and they did tell me if they were.
That happened pretty much was they ended up roaring out our setup, which was fine. We ended up sacking the Magmortar to kind of allow the Mew to get set up a little bit. And the second that the Mew started getting set up, they immediately started timer stall.
Right.
We got one Iron Defense up, and we were able to max the Zarude. We went for an Adamant Life Orb. Max Overgrowth in grassy terrain into the Volcanion. 70% chance to knock out, and we didn't get it.
Yeah.
And then they heat waved and burned us.
Yeah.
So, it's one of the things that, when you're playing timer stall, probably the worst thing that can happen is your offensive Pokemon, your main way, gets neutered the first Dynamax of the game, the first Dynamax turn of the game.
Yeah, so we got one max move off, and then we got burned. So.
Then we got burned,
which partially was our bad because we were actually considering doubling into the Volcanion with a body press. I think maybe you could say we got greedy and KO and an Iron Defense, which we could have gotten if we got the right roll. But it's also we also kind of thought that since our main game plan was shot at that point, we kind of figured we needed to go for some big plays and try to get ahead with some KOs and setup at the same time. If we have a chance at taking that, we thought we should go for it. So we didn't get it.
So yeah, I mean the main problems that we probably saw coming out of this, honestly, was that we basically lost one entire side just for no reason. I mean, we couldn't even get anything coming out of it at all. The Caparajah really didn't do anything.
Yeah.
The Zarude immediately got burned. I think the burn probably was bigger than the the 70% roll that we missed.
Yeah, because at least we would have gotten substantial damage on the Mr. Mime switch.
And once we get the Mr. Mime down, they pretty much have no way to stop the body presses because we had already seen that at that point. That
right.
The Mr. Mime was the only thing that was going to resist that. But instead, we missed the roll and got burned, and had to just face out, just double protects, redirect, double protect, redirect, going all the way down to timer. So
yeah,
that's probably the more consistent way you can do it because the geezers didn't lose a single Pokemon. They made sure that they kept their differential up high. But definitely a tough way to lose when a couple of things could have gone your way and you're sweeping it in the other direction.
Right.
But they outled. There was really nothing we can do on the lead, and they were able to maintain that lead for sure.
We seem to be having some more streaming issues. Where is the... Oh, there's that. Okay. Let's see. Is anyone else having issues right now with the stream? Yes. I don't know if... I'm still a little bit new to OBS, so I don't know if this means... If this colored box means... I mean, it's turning red a lot. Maybe that means we're getting a lot of buffering. I don't know.
It's looking good from my end.
Okay. All right, well, I guess we'll just keep going and roll with the punches, deal with things as they come. So, yeah, usually usually the main reasons for losing a game comes down to, one side fucked up or one side did really well, played godly, and outplayed the other, or there was a lot of RNG, like you get a muddy water drop and then like miss 4 attacks and then that you lose off of that. Like, yeah, you lost to RNG. This game, I feel like the game with versus the Geezers was it seemed to be kind of an even split between all three of those things. Because for one, they outlet us hard.
Yeah.
We did not expect the roar at all, and I think I only would have expected led with Suicune. Was not expecting it from the Volcanion. Roar Suicune is actually something I mentioned in their interview, but I was not expecting it to come out from the Volcanion. So that was good tech there. So they just outlet us. I think the only thing we could have done is potentially taunted the Volcanion. Because we did kind of speed creep the Rillaboom a little bit, depending on how much speed they had. But that would also be just a super hard call from us to just call the roar there. It was that would have been an incredibly tough one to make. And then of course the RNG being the roll on the Volcanion and then the burn onto the Zarude. And then I think on our end we could have done better if we had tried to maybe reposition to get Trick Room up instead of setting up Mew right as the main thing we should have been doing. Any other thoughts on this one?
I mean, no. I mean, they played really well. 2 B+ teams. I wouldn't take it too hard. They're a good team.
Oh yeah. It's also like it was a little bit weird going up against them since they had Austin's been out for 2 seasons, Dave's been out for 1, so it was almost difficult from them because they've as a team, especially as a pair. But I think they're going to have a lot of success moving forward. They have a very good team. They got some really powerful stuff, a lot of good synergy. Yeah. Potatoes versus Doesn't Click. This game I really liked, especially because they maxed the Grimmsnarl. Oh yes. It was so good, especially given the matchup, like a Dynamax Grimmsnarl versus the Dragapult and Urshifu. I mean, yeah. Especially when
Latias,
right? You got the Latias and the Metagross that are just gonna, So that was definitely the play there. I like that game plan. But this game just had a lot of good back and forth. the Urshifu and the Dragapult on Doesn't Click side had good coverage to deal with the Grimmsnarl. They went for the Max Steel Spike and Poison Jab turn one, which actually almost killed it. And the Grimmsnarl was able to put out a decent amount of offense, really just almost blowing up the Dragapult turn one, even though it was +1 defense from that Steel Spike, and then they got that Tailwind up and really put Doesn't Click on the back. Excuse me, on the back foot. And they repositioned well enough, even though they took another KO there from the Max Overgrowth on the Grimmsnarl going into the Seismitoad. Not that the Seismitoad was going to do much anyway, because I mean it's a Seismitoad. But
And Swampert would have died to that too.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. But yeah, and then since the Grimmsnarl was so low, they were actually able to sucker punch it down, which put them in a really great position to start quiver dancing. But then the potatoes were still able to kind of mitigate that a little bit with the Mystical Fire out of the Latias. There was a lot of good back and forth here. But once the I think it was they ended up switching the Urshifu out to reset the Scarf because they were locked into sucker punch at that point. The Centiskorch actually KO'd the Toxtricity on the switch in. They came back out with the Urshifu, and once they were able to, they had that. They at least still had the speed and special defense boost on the Volcarona. They only got hit by one. They did Quiver Dance, and they only got hit by one Mystical Fire. So with fast Volcarona and the Urshifu locked into Wicked Blow instead of the Sucker Punch, they were able to clean up from there. But I really like this one. It was actually genuinely. It was a lot like the Whalers and the Jurors. Obviously, there's a winner and a loser, but it was a genuinely good showing from both teams.
Volcarona showing just once again how dangerous it could be if it's in the right spot. So in that particular situation, if it had Quiver Dance, it just always clicks it, and it's always getting set up and always just being powerful. And I think the combination of that and Urshifu is going to be really nice later on.
Mm-hmm.
So good game from Doesn't Click. They're showing that they're one of the top teams again, and the potatoes, they're scary, man. They're scared. They're starting to find their stride a little bit. I know Henry missed a lot of last season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now they have a good team. Alyssa's always been a great player. Yeah, they're going to be scary. So
and they had a lot of good prep in this match too. Yeah. I mean, maxing the Grimmsnarl shows a lot of game knowledge, a lot of versatility in what they can do with their team.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the Life Orb on it. That's actually something that we never did with our offensive Grimmsnarl. It's a good option. It's they went with the Flash Fire on the Centiskorch. They actually switched that into a Heat Wave, which was nice. Something we were pretty afraid of in finals last season.
We were afraid of Flash Fire Pokemons with Volcarona because it really just shuts it down. You know, there's not a lot that you can hit it with.
Yeah, and it was a good decision on their part too, because the Volcarona, the only other attack it had was Bug Buzz. I would assume. I don't think we ever saw it Protect, but we saw Heat Wave and Quiver Dance. I'm assuming it has Protect. But yeah, it was forced to hit the Centiskorch with Bug Buzz. So there was no, it was resisting everything the Volcarona could throw at it. And they had Rock Slide on the Metagross, which, you know, might be an obvious choice, but it's definitely a good one. Mm-hmm. We just saw a lot of good stuff out of the potatoes, even though they took the loss here. I liked this game a lot. It was great. You want to take the next one?
Nah, go for it.
Okay.
Take the next two.
You want me to? Oh, God.
You got it.
So much work. All right, so Cheek Drillers and the Patch Rats. This one was a little bit more straightforward. The Drillers were able to they went with the Mimikyu and Arcanine lead, justified Arcanine with the beat up Mimikyu, which
who would have thought?
I didn't actually that's not even something we caught in their draft analysis. I didn't even know Mimikyu got beat up. We know now.
Yeah, we were wondering why didn't they grab Sneasel? That's Mimikyu's a way. It's really good with Arcanine at least. You know?
Yeah. It's just 1 point faster than Arcanine. It's nice. They got the beat up set up here. They made they miscalculated a little bit because they were hitting Max Strike into the Dynamax Thundurus, which they ended up being at +4 because they went for the beat up and they also got hit by the wicked blow from the Urshifu. So they were at +4 from Justified. And the +4 max strike did not end up KOing the Thunderous. But they were able to reposition a little bit. They max guarded with the Arcanine. They trick roomed with the Mimikyu, and that helped them at least neuter that lead. Arcanine did, I believe, Arcanine did end up going down, and then they went into the Rotom Mow, which got like a few nasty plots off. It got rid of them by leaf storming as well, but they kept boosting back up. And next to the Blastoise, once that lead with the Thunderous and the Urshifu had been, I'm not sure. I don't think both of them got KO'd there, but they were at least forced out, and the rest of the stuff on the Patrat's team just as we predicted, it just wasn't able to deal with this Rotom Blastoise stuff. Which is a good combination to begin with, but when it's up against all these lackluster low-tier Pokemon that they were forced to pick with that super top-heavy draft, there was just nothing the Patrats could do about that
Magmar.
thing.
What are you going to do with Magmar next to Blastoise?
Right.
Blastoise next to Rotomo.
So. Right, so I don't even think Magmar hit the field.
No.
So
it's a good combo. It's a good combo.
Yeah, so the Rotom just really went in. So props to Hector and Allan there.
Brian too.
Was Brian in on this one? I actually don't remember. I know Hector and Allan were the ones that were playing.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't think they would break the rules.
Okay.
They're not rule breakers.
Well, in any case, they took a good win here. Good 4-0 win. Rotom just went in. That's why we've got Rotom up on the screen here. It's one of the kill leaders for this week. So I think it's tied with Urshifu at 4-0. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Urshifu, the non-Gmax version from Doesn't Click, just to clarify, was real good at cleaning up against the potatoes. So Brian was out. Okay. Well, hey, good on you and Allan. You guys did well. Good match. And last we have the Raiders and the Pixies, who played just a few hours ago. This one was interesting. We forgot to put the check marks here. The Raiders ended up winning. I think it was a 2-0 or a 3-0 victory. They ended up leading with Togekiss and Inteleon, and they went straight for. They had the Togekiss in the Dynamax slot. They didn't max. They went straight for a Follow Me with Focus Energy on the Inteleon, with the Scope Lens, of course, for the sniper crits. The Cradilly actually went for a Power Meteor Beam and one-shot the Togekiss. That was really cool. I was actually kind of surprised that it was able to one-shot that thing. I figured Togekiss is bulky enough, and Cradilly has a lackluster enough special attack stat that, like, you actually could have built to survive that. And then I went and calced it, and, like, no, you probably can't. It's like at max...
At +1?
Absolute max special defense Togekiss, there's still a small chance that it KOs. That's assuming their modest max special attack on the Cradilly. So, goddamn, it's strong.
Yep.
Stab and +1 from your beam. Yeah, it's good stuff. So that was really cool to see, but the Inteleon got it set up, and the Dynamax slot went right into it, and it maxed immediately. And that Gmax Hydro Snipe ignoring abilities didn't give a shit about Storm Drain at all. They just blew up the Cradilly with a water move, no less. So that was pretty crazy to see, and from there the Inteleon was just, it put on so much offensive pressure, and the Pixies didn't really have that much without making some serious sacrifices. They brought in the Crobat, ended up tailwinding. The Klefki at one point actually tricked or switcherooed the scope lens off of Inteleon, so its crits were only, it was a 50-50 shot. But yeah, they had to sacrifice the Crobat, for the Tailwind, and then they brought out Landorus, which was the last thing on that side after the Cradillion Crobat came out. And I think, given the damage on the Landorus, they did go for a Max Hailstorm onto the Landorus as the Landorus was Dynamaxing. And given the damage, I think, through the Yachi Berry, through Light Screen, considering the Sniper, if they got that 50% roll, I'm pretty sure they would have just one-shot the... they would have got the one-shot for the whole game. The Pixies actually tried to get a coil up with Milotic. It just took too much damage. It actually took a crit Seed Bomb, fortunately. I think it was a crit. But that forced them out. They lost a lot of their momentum, and then in the late game, the Raiders just set up Trick Room. The Pixies did not have their trick. They didn't bring their Trick Room mode to the battle at all. The Beware and the Slowbro stayed on the bench. So
both your kids are giving it to you right now.
That's fine. But yeah, the Trick Room mode was just too much for them to take. The Genesect was able to deal some decent damage, but like the Slow King had Flamethrower, and the Berserker had good damage with the Seed Bomb and the close combat, and
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
What items did they have on the Landorus and on the Genesect?
Oh, that's interesting. I think they definitely had the berries that you have to have almost all the time. Yeah.
Yep, they're going to be locked into that every single week, I think. And when they're not...
Almost. I don't want to say every single week, but a lot.
It's going to be tough to not, I think.
Lot, yeah.
Because they're so heavily dependent offensively on those two Pokemon.
Right. You have to protect them, and you don't have redirection.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But, well, it's all right. We're going to take a look. Both these teams, one of them had to win. Raiders took the W this time.
Yeah, and it was actually a genuinely good win. It wasn't just like... kind of a toss-up. Like, it was a good battle, and the Raiders, like, they genuinely had a lot of control over this game for a good amount of the time. So, for basically the whole battle, I guess. Especially with the Trick Room mode. The Trick Room mode actually had a good matchup against the Pixies, even though we kind of thought it was underwhelming. But when the opponent doesn't bring their Trick Room mode, even an underwhelming Trick Room mode is probably gonna do well.
It's gonna work.
Yeah. All right, so that's all the games we have. That was a lot less brief than we thought it would be. I guess we can at least attempt to be a little bit more brief here.
All right, time to overreact to stuff.
Yeah, like we said in the beginning, a lot of these ups and downs are going to be pretty dramatic, especially for teams that were close to the top that ended up losing. And again, these are the second most useless power rankings of the season. We don't have a lot to go off of here. There's going to be a lot of really dramatic shifts like these in the beginning. So, don't freak out if you're dropping too far. We dropped ourselves by 8, so that's...
This we can fly through.
Right, yeah. So, okay. Patrats,
you know why you're that low? Because you lost.
Right.
You know what? You know why you're at 16? Because you lost.
Yeah.
You know what? You know why you're at 50? Because you lost.
Yeah.
That's why.
We did also decide we're just gonna we're gonna take the simple route, at least for week 1, and put all of the 1-0 teams above the 0-1 teams. Mm-hmm. So these are most of the 0-1 teams here. Are all of them?
Yep.
Most of them.
Most of them.
Okay. All right. So at the bottom we have the New England Patriots. It's pretty straightforward what happened here. They were just their lackluster Pokemon were overwhelmed by Pokemon that were, I wouldn't say super powerful, but like solid.
Good enough.
Right. Their lead of Thunderous Urshifu, which is I think their most common lead almost all the time, was dealt with fairly well, even though it was a little bit shaky in the beginning, considering that the Thunderous didn't go down. But it was dealt with well enough, and the rest of the Pokemon just couldn't hack it, So that was about what we expected from them, especially against a good team like the Drillers. So they are keeping their spot down at number 18.
All right, and you know what, Hector? what we should have done is we should have made you guys number 2. You lost. You lost. See, anytime you say anything, we just go, you lost. It doesn't matter. But yeah, we should have put the SoCal Drillers at number 2. So when we beat them this week, we shoot right back up to the top.
I guess we should have, huh?
All right. The Pixies, 2, we didn't have them rated that high. Both their offensive Pokemon are times 4 weak to stuff. They ended up losing to a team that we honestly think probably is gonna, do all right, but not as good. They're gonna struggle to make the playoffs. So this is one of the games that you have to win. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with them, but they're moving down a spot.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate because they just didn't really have control at any point in the match. It was all the Raiders controlling that match. So
here's what I'll say: we're on to Cincinnati, and if you know sports, you know what that means. We're on to Cincinnati.
I don't know what that means.
We're on to... Nobody cares. So that means we're going to buckle down, we're going to come at this, and we're going to win the Super Bowl after it. Yeah, we had a loss. It's all right. It's all right. We take losses. It happens. But you know what happens after that? We win. We've dropped 5 games in the last 3 seasons. Think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Think about that. We dropped 5 games in the last 3 seasons. So it's all right. We'll see. We'll take this. I'll go into the Porygons too while we're at it. Heavily reliable rain mode. You're complaining about missing a hurricane. This is what we were talking about. This is what we were talking about. So yeah, you're going to move down a slot. The Sadistic Seniors, we think they're going to be a good team. No, they didn't play the Seniors, did they?
Mats.
The Mats. The Mats, they're the top team that we have. So yeah, it's going to be good, but we're going to see if the rest of what the league can do is going to be able to keep up with them. They obviously, the Disquake mode that they have, very, very powerful. It's going to be able to put down a lot of pressure. I think they have some stuff here that they're able to work in and out of Trick Room. The Caesar, I think, is going to be one of the things, too, that can work a little bit in and out of Trick Room, kind of put pressure on outside and in. And Sylveon, I think, is just generally a good mon. I think they're going to need another redirector besides the Pikachu. All issue that they need to fix. So they'll get some wins. They'll be fine. They'll be up there they're going to be up there eventually. But for right now, we have them at 16.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of they were at 15 previously. They lost. We do kind of have to drop them, especially given the teams above them that also lost. That we just couldn't justify given where all of these teams were in the week 0 power rankings. We couldn't justify putting the Porygons above any of these other teams. So that's why they are where they are. Next up is the Mudkips. They fell more than any other team. That's obvious here. I don't think this is a case of like, holy shit, they played bad. No. We gotta drop them super far. No, it's not that bad. It's more just a lot of these placements are more just because we couldn't justify dropping the teams above earlier than in the game would have been nice. And,
not on their terms because they set it up on their terms.
Right. And then the Primarina sitting out there in front of the Gengar was a little bit weird. It was putting on some offensive pressure, but it didn't like just taking those sludge bombs and. It was an unfortunate game, but we think they're gonna bounce back. I mean, they're not just gonna stay down here. They made finals last season. They're a good team, and they've got the goddamn horse, dude. Come on,
they're gonna be fine.
Yeah,
this is like I said, it's just major overreacting that we have to do right now because we have to put these teams in places.
Yeah,
it leads us into our next team, the Booloos. The Booloos are gonna be fine.
Yeah,
they have a good team. They lost a timer. It happens. It's one of the things where it happened to both teams. It snuck up on both of them. One of them ended up losing. It was by 9%. I guess they said that they had figured it out. So
yeah, they had about 40% HP, and the Delibirds had about 49. So.
Yeah. So I mean, it is really what it is. It's gonna happen. But for right now, we're gonna put them at 14. They're gonna be fine. They're 0-1. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I would also like to clarify that a lot of these, a lot of the order that we're putting these in. They could go a lot of different ways. It's not. I don't think it's exactly 100% clear that like I would say like number 12 through 15 here. Like you could argue for those to be kind of in any order here. So I don't think it's exactly super clear that like, we're the best of these four, and then the spammers are the next best, and then it's not quite that clear.
Let me just go ahead and say this: if your team is on this list of 7 right here, and you're worried that you're not at 12 instead of 17, you lost.
Yeah.
The only stat that matters is and this league is predicated. There's one thing on the menu. Wins and wins. That's it. That's the only thing you can order. We don't want losses. We don't want none of that other stuff. Just wins. That's all that matters. So as long as you win, that'll get you higher on the board. You don't win, you're gonna stay down here. So these top rankings right here, yeah. What are you gonna do? You can put them where they belong. We're here too, at number 12, and there's a team above us that lost as well. 2 teams above
two,
us.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah, definitely 2. Yeah. Potatoes and the Jurors are above us.
So
that's all well and good. I totally get it. But Maxwell also brings up a good point. They got 0 differential, even though they lost, because as we saw last season, Dave kept repeating, every kill matters, and holy shit did it matter. I think there was, like, going into the last week, or maybe it was the last 2 weeks, there was a 3-way tie between the Russians and Seniors and Team Pussy, because they had the same record and same differential. So on some level, every kill does actually matter.
Yes, it does. And maybe we should have took differential into it. But at the same time, if 14 is mad that they're not 12, if 16 is mad that they're not 14, like, the fact of the matter is these teams are 0-1.
Right.
And while differential may come into play later, I could argue, if I wanted to, that the Delibirds should have been one of their wins. And instead, that's a loss on their column now. And if anything, that could go against them even more. Mm-hmm. Because, in my opinion, they had a better matchup than them. And the Delibirds were able to pull it off to where it becomes a stalemate at that point. And if you're favored that much, a stalemate is a loss. Which, in this case, it is.
Yeah. I would also like to emphasize before we move on that, again, we mentioned this a bunch of times last time, and I'm glad we repeated it a bunch. These are the second most useless power rankings. Every single power ranking stream we do will be more important than the last. So they're going to be more important and more solidified as we move forward. If you're down here in the bottom, great, win next week and you might jump way up. If you're toward the top and you lose next week, you might go. There's a lot of movement to be had in the coming weeks.
Let me clarify. Yes, Izzy Max did not say anything. It was just an example of 14 moving to 12. I just figured something 2 spots would be a good example. But we hear a lot of stuff about these power rankings, and it's like, why are we at 16? Cool, we'll put you at 11 next time. Like, you're still 0-1, buddy. Yeah. It's just any of these. It doesn't matter. But all right. So next is the spammers.
We're the only ones who are allowed to overreact.
Yeah,
it's only us.
The spammers. I mean, they barely lost. I don't want to say barely, but like it was one of the things where, kind of like with us, if a couple things go your way, you're talking a completely different game. The seniors, though, I just feel really took advantage of that. Just the Reggie Geezers kind of took advantage of the fact that they got a little bit of a lead on us, and they're like, cool, we're going to take the lead, we're going to sit on it, and the seniors were just like, all right, cool, you didn't knock that out, we're going to just keep sending threats out your way, and then we'll just blow you up like that. So ultimately, the spammers are going to be all right. I think they have a solid team, solid modes. The Zoomer roll, I think, is gonna put in some work, just overall. So we'll be all right. The spammers are going to be all right. And then you want to go with us?
Sure, yeah. So I was honestly I wasn't really 100% sure where I wanted to put us here. Again, the order can, you can mix them up and still justify a lot of different placements for different teams here, but yeah, I mean we're one of the 0-1 teams. We're down here near the bottom because we took a loss here. It was sort of it was a little bit weird because the game was clearly decided pretty early on. Basically, once they decided, once they got that burn and they got Mr. Mime in fairly safely, and they decided we're gonna timer stall. That was kind of it. But the it was just awkward because our whole game plan was shot, and admittedly it was risky to bring the kind of Mew that we brought, considering that if our game plan didn't work out, then if we were due in the beginning, then it was going to be hard to actually make it work, which is exactly what happened. But it would have been a lot better if we had been able to do the other stuff we wanted to do, and we felt we were able to do that pretty safely. But they got us on the surprise factor. Really, they had a good lead, and they got us there. So I think that's about all I have to say. Any other thoughts from you?
No, I think that's more or less it.
Okay,
at least on this list.
So
I know Hector's not saying that we're going to keep this up. We rode this, what is it, the LA New Wave. They were like 1-4, and we're like, it's all right, guys. You guys are going to be okay. You can still make playoffs. They're like 2-5, and we're like, they're still in the playoff.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we lose one game, and we're riding our jock too hard.
we get no credit. No credit.
No credit, man. No credit.
All right, moving on. We've got 6 through 11 next. Boom. All right. So potatoes. Potatoes are at number 11. They're one of the top teams out of the 0-1s here. Because we just both 10 and 11. We really liked how they played, and they had very good games despite losing. We talked a lot about it earlier, so I don't think we need to go over it again. But they had a really good showing. They had good prep. I liked their game plan going into this. There was a lot of good stuff coming out from the potatoes, even though they took an L here.
Yeah, and then the jurors, pretty much the best of the 0-1 teams. They dropped two. We still like their draft a lot. Came down to time, a couple of things not going their way, but ultimately I think they had a good game plan overall for what they were doing. Showed great adaptation once the Dragalge went down. Good play from them overall. I really like their match. You guys, I think it's going to be an enjoyable match for a lot of you guys. So, finishing off our defeated teams this week is the jurors at number 10.
And moving into number 9, we do have the darn heckin' Della Birds. They are our first 0-1 team. They're down at the bottom of the 0-1 teams here for a couple of reasons. Partially because they were, we did have them ranked pretty low in the week 0 power rankings, and also because even though they did display an ability to control. They did it in a way that ended up bringing them to time and ended up giving them a +0 win, which is, like we said, not exactly consistent.
But there's one thing on the menu, Matt, and what's that? Wins.
That's it.
And they got one.
That's it. That's why they are number 9 here. They're above all the 0-1 teams, but they are they're bottom out of the 1 and 0s. Because of that, that game could have gone a bunch of different ways, given a slightly different turn here and there. Like we said, just not exactly a consistent way to win, especially, and that's especially apparent in how surprised both teams were when the result came out after the timer went down. Because like I said, the timer caught them both off guard, and neither team was confident in who would win once it hit 0. It came up for the Booloos that they were defeated. It came up for the Della Birds that they won, and they both seemed surprised by that. So
I think they would have been surprised the other way too.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So, and then next we have the Rainbow Raiders. Took a win against the Pixies. Bumped them up to number 8, second best or second in to the bottom of all the 1-0 teams here. But overall, I think they have a good squad. I think the best thing they did this week was not bring Colossal.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to win, just not bringing the Colossal, focusing a little bit more on the Intellion, having your Trick Room mode in the back, good prep, great job. So don't think there's much left to say. Was against one of the teams that we don't think is going to do as well. I was telling Matt, it's one of the things where unfortunately a win for both teams wasn't going to boost the other one up too much.
Right.
Like if the Pixies beat the Raiders, it's not going to boost them up too much, and if the Raiders beat the Pixies, it's not going to boost them up too much. It's kind of like a wash. One team has to win, so just one of the things. But they got the win. They did a good job. They showed good prep. So
yeah,
it's not like they just lucked into it. They went out and got the win. So congrats to them.
Yeah. I do like the point you made about the Colossal too, because when I was looking at this matchup, at least to vote on the pick'ems, I was thinking like is set up that Colossal, right? And I was thinking like if they just go hard into the Colossal, that's going to be kind of rough because I'm expecting the Landorus to Dynamax here, which it did. And so if they especially I was actually kind of expecting maybe Assault Vest Landorus because it was going to be able to handle the Colossal better and still potentially take a max Ice Storm or Hailstorm, especially if you're setting up the light screen with Klefki, which the Pixies did. But yeah, that would have been really difficult for the Colossal to deal with. It still would have been difficult even without the Dynamax on or without the Assault Vest on Landorus. So good on them for identifying that this was not the time to bring Colossal, even though it is one of the big threats on their team. And yeah, we put them here second to last out of the 1-0 teams, mostly because again they were one of the bottom teams last time. So we can't bump them up too much, but we felt that they definitely played better than the Delabirds did, I would say. So that's why they're here at number 8. Number 7, we got the SoCal Cheek Drillers. They also had a very dominant game, 4-0 win, one of the few games that did not go to time.
But same thing with the Raiders. They beat the Patriots.
Right, yeah, they were...
You're playing one of the bottom tier teams. It's not going to move you up so much.
Right, we can't bump them up too much. They're definitely above the Raiders and the Delabirds because we feel that they are... they're clearly more of a threat as a team than the Raiders and the Delabirds are. I suppose that could change. The Delabirds I'm less certain about. I didn't really have too much confidence in them previously, but I'm less certain about them now because they had a decent showing, and we'll see how they
Good
do.
Prep.
Yeah, and they're also a completely new team, so we've never seen them play before.
Yes.
Before this, so. But as of right now, we're still counting the Drillers as a better, more of a powerhouse than the Raiders and the Delabirds. They were ranked above them last time, but they did beat one of the bottom. They beat the bottom team, so we couldn't bump them up really all that much. So they're situated here above the Raiders and the Delabirds, rightly, but didn't break the top 5 because their schedule so far has not been great.
I don't mean to go down too much and kind of get us off topic a little bit, but one thing about the Delabirds too, because you mentioned that you're a little bit unsure about them, we don't really know a lot about them because they're a new team.
Yeah.
We did not like this draft, like almost anything about this draft. But they came on with us, and they explained every single pick and the logic behind it, and while we may not agree 100% with that logic, the logic was sound,
Right.
Like
they at least were not just like picking, well, this seems good, that seems good. They had reasons.
They had reasons for everything. If this fits in a specific way, they can get wins consistently if they just are able to put it together. So I think, they're a little bit unknown right now, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, and they could work out for them.
Yeah.
We'll go up right now. Reggie Geezers, they moved to number 6. They beat us. Timer Star, they didn't lose a Pokemon. I think that's fantastic. Shows really great effort by them and prep. I just short a little bit. I think the other 5 teams just beat them out, but I think this is a good spot for them. I think 6th on the power rankings is more than fair. they proved that they deserve to be there, and they'll work their way into the top 5.
Yeah. I think the difference between the Reggie Geezers and the next team that we have at number 5 is that they kind of because their lead shut down what we wanted to do so hard. It's they didn't. I don't think they had to play too tough of a game all the way through. Once they saw what we were doing with the Mew, and once they got Mr. Mime in safely, that was a pretty easy end game as long as you know how to play it, which they did, and they just did everything correctly, and they finished out the game pretty safely and just got the win that way. This next team had to play the game the whole time. So our next team is again one of our new teams, Joe and Sierra of the Wet and Wild Wailords, coming in at number 5.
If you're watching this, get us a logo.
Yeah, for real. Like I'm tired of having to use this stupid Wailord every time. I'm trying to put some Pokemon on these slides that are representative of what did well, what's been doing well for you guys. They did Max the Spider is a good decision. I like the Spider Max. But like it looks like Wailord is I don't know, like it wants to be part of your draft or something. It's not a logo, it's just a Pokemon. It's just there.
Yeah. It's okay. It's all right. Okay. All right. Get a logo. Anyway, back to this. I think they showed really good adaptation here, just in general. Being very versatile in the Trick Room mode. The Flygon was able to do some decent damage too, was just kind of coming in and putting down like almost like typing pressure, you know, like being good defensively with the Tapu Bulu. But the Araquanid was really the MVP here. I mean, it really just allowed them to do whatever, like kind of mitigate the damage a little bit, and then make it so that way their Trick Room mode wasn't so devastating, and they could just maintain and hold the lead. I think that was really, really beneficial for them because, you know, the jurors lost a few of their Pokemon they kind of like almost designed to lose. Like the Raichu, I think, was one of them, and you know some other Pokemon too. So it was just it was a little bit tough, but I think they played extremely well. So
the Raichu ended up surviving the whole match.
Did it really?
I think so. Yeah.
I thought it had fainted.
No, they lost 3 Mons. They lost
Victini.
Yeah, they lost
Victini,
Jellicent, Dragalge.
Yeah. Okay. And the thing that I'm kind of hoping the most is that they'll see, oh man, this timer's really fast. We kind of don't need chances, and they just switch them out because another B and a C tier. If you can kind of finagle your way into kind of making that into, you don't want to make it into an A tier pick, but maybe making your 2 C's into a B, having like a couple B's on there too. Switch. There's a couple things you can do.
Yeah.
With a B and a C. So I think definitely maybe they'll see that they don't need the Chansey so much.
I think
go to timer,
especially after seeing what the timer's like. I would sort of, this may be wishful thinking, but I am expecting them to drop the Chansey. Maybe also the Shuckle, but at least the Chansey.
If they go to timer this next match, like they're gonna be like, okay, there's no need for us to be running this.
Yeah,
these matches just go to timer naturally without even trying.
Definitely.
So congrats to them, top 5, week 1.
Yeah, they played very well. Good for them. Number 4, Sadistic Seniors. You want to take this one? Yeah,
remember when we gave them an A+ and everybody thought we were crazy on the threat level? Remember we were like, hey, they're just going to kind of start switching stuff in and be like, oh, shoot, that's a win con. Oh, shoot, that's a win con. Oh, shoot, that's a win con. Yeah, that's exactly. The banned Darmanitan, the Choice Scarf. We didn't see the Choice Scarf Dracozolt.
No, we did.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah.
The Marowak, huge threat. I was surprised it didn't get it was +1. Earthquake, single target, and I don't believe it picked up the KO on something. I was very surprised. And also, the Cursed Marowak in general was
I think good. I know what you're referring to. I don't know if they had the curse up yet, but I was surprised that they did with an Earthquake.
Yeah, okay.
I think it was just because of the Steel Spike boost.
Oh, maybe you're right, yeah. But the Curse play was so good. They saw the Trick Room was about to come up. Curse dropped the speed very low, and now they have another threat on their team and just kind of went with it right there. So
yeah.
Yes, we meant it when we said this team has threats on threats on threats, especially when you lead with like Porygon Z and Clefairy, and you're just like, all right, go ahead and do what you guys normally do. See if you can pick up a couple of KOs or at least do some major damage to their team.
Right.
So I think they showed, all right, hey, here we are, guys. We got our top heavy team. They're used to it. We got all of our threats, super hyper.
It's not even really top heavy. I mean, yeah, they do have.
It's not. You're right.
Well, they have the same draft structure that we do.
But more what I'm talking about is that their versatility is a little lacking.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah.
And it just kind of goes. I mean, you know how the kids these days, these youngins, they go stuff goes burr. This team goes burr. Yeah, I just aged myself right there.
Yeah, a lot. You probably more than you probably seem older than you actually are now.
Yeah.
+2 EQ didn't kill the Musharna. Maybe yeah, I think you were only +1. I don't think you cursed more than once. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think But either way, just so many things. The Darmanitan was the most hilarious to me because it was like, yes, this Porygon Z's gone, the redirection's gone, everything's gonna be okay. And then Darmanitan just comes out, picks up a KO. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, we gotta take care of that now too.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so great job by them, man. It's a good team. I can't wait to see what they're creative players, so they don't have to do stuff like this all the time. They can do weird stuff like they normally like to. I think they ran Trick Room on PZ again this time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff we saw was a little bit more standard. There were a couple of tricks, like Clefairy had counter with the Focus Sash. That was kind of cool. I wish they got it, but they ended up Steel Spiking the Porygon instead that first turn. But yeah, a little bit more of a standard game. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff that they can do. And yeah, I agree. They're very creative. We saw that last season. They're gonna do well. And number 3, Team Pussy, get a goddamn logo. Come on, this is not a logo. I don't care.
Sebi just wants a team build.
I know.
Play MBC. Okay?
I know. I don't even know if they're watching this. Who knows?
He doesn't want to watch this. He wants a team build, play MBC.
I know.
Nothing else.
Get a logo. But yeah, this was a good showing by one of our returning champions. Is Vishy putting I'm not even gonna, whatever that is, I'm not gonna look at it right now. All right. So
we also request, how about getting this one? We also request battery in your smoke detector. How about clipping that?
I think we're past that.
I'm just glad that we aren't being gaslit. Well, we are being gaslit, but now we know it because his friends were in there on Vishy's stream and they were like, "What is that noise coming out of their room? Who is that? It's like a high pitched squeak." I'm like, "That's their smoke detector."
Oh God. We'll talk about the smoke detector in a couple of things.
Sorry.
Okay.
I gotta get that off. Team Pussy.
Yes.
Great job, guys.
So we got a good showing from one of our returning champion teams. I think this it's entirely possible that this means Team Pussy is back this season, much like Doesn't Click was back last season. So they got a good win. They played very well. I love that Dynamax bluff from the Cinderace. Really nice. I mean, how I think we all expect, like, yeah, Cinderace is in the Dynamax slot. Okay, it's gonna Dynamax, right?
It's banded, right?
Yeah, it turned out to be Choice Band, and so once we saw the Choice Band, because the Rabombi ended up tricking the eject button onto it, so we saw the Choice Band, and we're like, oh, okay, so that's interesting. So that was kind of an indication that they probably did not intend to max it. Which was nice, and then they I think they confirmed in chat afterward that was a bait. So nice job on their end. I like that a lot. And yeah, they just did really well here. They showed why they're one of our top teams, and I think they deserve to be up top because we know how powerful of a team they are.
They're Team Pussy, damn it.
Yeah, it's. So that's part of the reason why they jumped up so high, because like we had them kind of lower, maybe because we were underestimating them a little bit too in our week 0 power rankings, partially because of how they did last season, partially because their draft is one that we feel a little bit weirder about, right?
As much as, and they got a B. which is like just below all the other teams that we put. But like, yeah, I mean, but like, we're not gonna like everybody's draft. We draft a specific way. We kind of like the way, like, we try and go like overall. It puts very creative teams like the Mats, like Team Pussy, probably like the Deli Birds. We're gonna see it puts them in tough spots to try and get good grades from us. And it's like we build a specific way that you're not gonna understand. You know, so I think Team Pussy is one of their teams. Get the wins, and we'll put you up here. That's what matters.
Yeah, especially because we know how good they actually
are.
Like,
Exactly.
Last season was probably kind of an anomaly for them.
If they're tied in record with like 3 or 4 other teams, like obviously this week they are, they're tied with 9 other teams. We're gonna tend to just shoot them towards the top because we know how good they are.
Right. That's exactly it. Yeah. So yeah, that's Team Pussy. And number 2, our other returning champion team that picked up a win this week, Doesn't Click. This is similar to Team Pussy because we are aware of how big of a powerhouse they are. If they're picking up wins, they're probably going to be up here toward the top. And they were already in our top 5-0 anyway. So we had to, considering where the other teams that are currently in our top 5 were as well, they were above them. So we bumped them up here to number 2. They had a really good game against a really tough opponent that had good prep for them, and they played well, and they came out with the win. So Doesn't Click at number 2. Anything on Doesn't Click?
I mean, I think this is a deserved spot. They're gonna be. They always have a slide up here.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
for sure.
So yeah, cool. Ryan and Fiona, you guys are fantastic. Keep it up, guys. You guys will be all right.
Maybe they'll drop down if they have another season like season 3, but I don't really expect that to happen.
I don't. They have a good. This is a good draft, so they'll be all right. All right, and now for our number 1.
Who? I wonder who it is. Oh, it's me.
The stupid Mats. Oh yeah, there you are, right there, right here, the Reggie Drago. Here we go. There's Matt. Matt's bald head, as we got to see on the stream. Did work and a lot of HP.
Over 1,000 HP.
His head has over 1,000 HP in it. It's just impossible to take it down. I mean, they showed why this. Did they even not bring Blaziken?
No, I don't think they did.
A couple of things, huh?
They didn't bring. I mean, it kind of felt like the only stuff they brought were like Ndidi, Cart,
Gardevoir.
Reggie, and Gardevoir.
Yeah.
Like, I guess Halucha hit the field, but like,
yeah,
its Tailwind was pretty important.
They had Gengar. I think they had Gengar with.
Did they have Gengar?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just our way of putting us at number 1.
Ben and Vichy actually don't exist. It's our second team. We have a burner account. The Matt Alcinas are our burner account. So technically, this is our last season was our second season making it to finals. We beat ourselves in top 4.
Does that mean that's our smoke detector? Oh God. Oh. Okay.
All right, I'm done with this already. I'm already having bad dreams about us having their smoke, it being my smoke detector.
Okay, well, Red is awesome. They kind of convinced us of that in our interview, and then with the showing here, I mean, that thing is so good. You say Dragon Ball GT, I say Dragon Ball OP.
Yeah, that was terrible, but
yeah,
I love it.
I know.
But yeah, ultimately, now I kind of want to see what they do with these C tiers.
Well, they did good stuff with one of them.
They brought Gardevoir,
and it was really good. Yeah,
and I mean, come on, Vichy's gonna do something with Glaceon. It's gonna get some kills. So
I'm sure.
I believe in that. So yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. I can't wait to see what these guys are able to do. They're gonna be all right. They have a tough game this week again against the Russian assets, the rural jurors. So yeah, should be fun.
That's gonna be a good one to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So here for week 1 power rankings. We got the New England Patriots number 18, Platinum Pixies number 17, Dark Web Porygons number 16, Mediocre Mudkips dropping down to 15. St. Louis Booloos at 14. Allied Switch Spammers 13. Amogus Burnouts 12. Potatoes 11. Rural Jurors 10. Darnheck and Delabirds at 9. Rainbow Raiders at number 8, SoCal Cheek Drillers number 7, Ridgy Geezers number 6, Wet and Wild Whalers number 5, Sadistic Seniors number 14, Pussy number 3, Doesn't Click number 2, and number 1 is the Mad Alcinas.
2 double-digit drops and rises. Team Pussy with moving up 10 spots from 13 to 3, and then the Mudkips dropping from number 3 to 15.
Yeah, it's those are no doubt pretty, or at least the Mudkips, that one's pretty devastating, but it's like, it's just hard because there's, it was a weird game, and we weighted that one particular game more than we should have. I mean, it's at the same, because they were ranked so high in week 0, but like, I don't know, it's tough when there's still other good teams that maybe had slightly better games that are also mixed in with these losses here. So, yeah, it's hard because I don't really think any. I don't think the Mudkips or any team above them actually deserves to be at 15. But like, somebody has to be there.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to stay there.
10 through 15, I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say. 10 through 15, I don't think any of those teams deserve to be at 15, but
right,
somebody has to.
Right. Yeah. All right, so those are our Week 1 power rankings, and we're going to finish things off with our Week 2 pick'em. So, we have here our buys are going to be the Darnheck and Delabirds for Shield or Sword Division, and the Allied Switch Spammers for Shield Division. We will have to wait until Week 3 to see more of them. But going through Sword, let's see, we have the Sadistic Seniors versus Rainbow Raiders. You want to take this one?
Seniors are going to win.
Yeah.
No, seriously. We think that they have a decent matchup against the Raiders in general. I think the Togekiss, if anything, is probably going to be the main thing that the Raiders are going to need. A really good redirector that can mitigate some of the damage that the Seniors are going to be able to put out.
Yeah.
But I don't think I think the Seniors just have too much.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a classic case of them just overwhelming a team with offense. So, going to be exciting to see what the Raiders can cook up, obviously, but choosing the Seniors for this one.
Yeah. And then we got the Potatoes and Mudkips. This one was a really one of the most difficult ones for this week, I think. We did go with the Potatoes, partially because mostly because we think they have a really good matchup, and I think if they can deal with the Rotom Heat, they have a really good matchup against a lot of the rest of the Mudkips team. Metagross versus Glastrier tends to favor the Metagross. Again, could go either way. They're both very strong Pokemon. They're both I'm assuming both of those are going to be the max options. Could be wrong, but that's kind of what I expect to come out. But I actually part of the reason I picked the Potatoes I think is because I'm actually running Metagross in another league right now, and I played against a Rotom Heat team, and I was able to beat it without too much trouble. So I feel like, I don't know, maybe this is a little bit bias coming from me, but I feel like it's still very, very possible to get through Rotom Heat if you have a Metagross, and I think the Metagross has a really good matchup against a lot of their other stuff. And we just saw so much good stuff out of the Potatoes this last game. So I'm really confident that they're with their team composition. This is my favorite team composition the Potatoes have had, with the display that they had this past week. I'm expecting them to pull out a win here. But again, this is one of those that really could go either way. If the Mudkips win, I don't think I'll be shocked.
No, not at all. These are two good teams going after each other, and
yeah,
Mudkips pulling two really tough teams, the Team Pussy and the Potatoes.
Yeah.
So that's a tough draw there. Next, we have the Wet and Wild Warelords versus the Dark Web Porygons. We're giving it to the Warelords here. One of the main reasons is obviously they have a rain mode with a good Disquake mode. You know what doesn't care about rain and doesn't care about Garchomp? Incineroar. It's probably like the only fire type that like functions well in rain. Could actually like put down decent pressure with fake out, intimidate. Barraskewda's not gonna like that intimidate either. Being able to move out in and out defensively, and then this guy, I don't know if you heard of him, Tapu Bulu. He can hit really hard.
Really?
Yeah, especially in that grassy terrain. So I think the Booloo, the Incineroar are going to do pretty well against the Porygons. They're going to need to find a good strategy for the Zapdos, but there's this other one that they have. It's a little bit faster than it. The Pokemon's called Nihilego.
I'm not familiar with that one.
So that's going to put in some work too. So I think the Porygons, honestly, they have a good team here, but I think the Whalers just have such a big team advantage. It's going to be pretty tough for them.
I think the Spider's going to be tough for the Porygons to deal with too.
Especially if
they're setting up Dynamax and Trick Room. Oh man,
because that's one of the things. Oh, I'm sorry.
That was kind of it. I think Spider's going to do real well as long as they can deal with the Zapdos, and Nihilego's got a great matchup there.
That's one of the things I was going to say. That they do have an advantage over teams like the Jurors a little bit that have such a good fire type in like Victini, where they kind of want to get it going a little bit. And they have an advantage where their fire types are almost going to be nullified against their team. Incineroar is not one of those fire types that cares too much about whether it's in rain or not. Mm-hmm. It's trying to do a lot of supportive things. It's trying to be a defensive pivot. So honestly, it might be the perfect thing. And then you could still throw Flare Blitz on there for that Scizor if you want. I know you have no problem dealing with Incineroar with Scizor. What is it? Swords Dance, Bug Bite?
First of all, that was Mega Scizor, and it was also in GS Cup. So
you had the Kyogre.
I also had Primordial C. So that's a little bit different. I'm not confident that they're going to be able to do exactly the same thing here. We'll see. I also think that what else was I going to say? Oh, right. The Whalers, we also saw them running a Pasho Berry on Incineroar, so they're clearly comfortable doing that. And against the Porygons, I think that's a pretty likely item to come out again.
Yeah, definitely. So we're picking the Whalelords on this one, but we'll see. We'll see how it works out.
The next one, well, we're picking ourselves, because why would we do anything else?
We're winners. We win, except for last week, but and the other 4 times that we lost, and a few times in our first season, and that one time in top 4. But other than that, we win.
We don't count those though. Yeah.
That loses to water. Please. Come on, man. You got to come at me with something better than, yes, I understand water beats fire.
Or rock. Yeah, I mean, we know our type matchups.
We know. We understand.
Versus the Reggie Geezers to start things off for Shield Division. I mean, we just think the Geezers are straight up the better team here. I think it's going to be tough to pick the Patrats on any of these until they're able to patch things up with some transactions, which is a little bit harsh, but I mean, it is what it is, you know.
They got good Pokemon. They're gonna patch it up. It's gonna work out. I have faith in both Alex and Noglaka that they're gonna be able to work this out. So yeah, they're gonna be all right.
Yeah, and considering the Reggie Geezers team and how they did this week, I mean, it's it would be tough to pick the Patrats on this one for real.
This is one that I feel bad for the Pixies, man.
Tell me why.
This is going to be a very tough matchup for them. You know, you have the Heatran that's going to be able to take care of the Genesect pretty easily. You have really good redirection.
To win. They're our number 1 team. They are our favorite draft. They won their first week. I just think they are. They're looking stronger overall than the Jurors are, even though we really like. We still really like the Jurors, even though they took a loss this week.
Yeah, and I'm going for the Jurors because Dina is on the Jurors, and there's no chance in hell that I would ever let her win and be like, did you go for the Mats or did you go for the Jurors? So that's not happening. Picking them no matter what. So even if, you know, they're going against Wolf and Marcus, I'm picking the Jurors to win because I have to be able to live here. So
And our last matchup is going to be the only this I think is the only matchup. Yeah, this is the only matchup between returning champions that we have in the regular season because we're not playing either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So